Thanks for joining us, everybody. I'm Steve Dunn.
I'm Deborah Knapp. Today, PSU canceled classes for the second day as the occupation continues. We have live team coverage tonight, including reaction from the governor and Oregon lawmakers.
We want to begin with K2 Shelby Slaughter, who's live at PSU. Shelby, tensions have started to escalate there today, right?
Yeah, that's exactly right. There have been several instances where people have come to argue with one another. If I step out of the way, you can kind of see that music has started. There's a lot of people in masks, and they're just hanging around here in this lawn. And there's been a lot of screaming matches as people out here just hope the people inside will come out. Now, protesters today appear to be settling in for another night. We've seen dozens of people dropping off supplies like food, shampoo, and bedding. Many of the remaining protesters are choosing not to speak today, but have been releasing messaging on their Instagram saying they have limited food, water, and are sleeping on the ground inside. I've asked some of the protesters outside if they are prepared to be arrested. They tell me because of their face coverings, the police won't know who they are. People outside stopping by tell me they're ready for the protesters to give up so people can go back inside the library.
In terms of inside, it's a little bit out of hand, but I see the message they're trying to send. I just think things escalated a little bit over the last 2 days, maybe.
And when you say things are out of hand inside, what do you mean by that?
I just witnessed, certain things going on, that certain graffiti or certain theft going on that I feel is detrimental to students at this school.
Now, PSU President Ann Cudd today sending out a letter with updates about ongoing negotiations with the protesters. The letter reads in part, "We offer to guarantee no expulsion, suspension, or change to their status, and that the university could not file criminal charges. In return, the students agree to refrain from violating student codes of conduct as they continue to exercise their full rights to free speech on campus." Cudd says they thought they had a deal, but students ultimately chose not to sign it. And I've asked Cudd's team just how many chances they will give the people still inside the library, and they tell me that they're just trying to end this peacefully. Reporting live in Portland, I'm Shelby Slaughter, K2 News.
All right, Shelby, thank you for that tonight. The Portland Police Bureau is leading the law enforcement response to that protest. At this point, it's not clear if or when they will remove the protesters.
K2's Emily Gersh joins us live from the campus now. So, Emily, police aren't providing any information about what could happen.
That's right, Deb. They are not providing a lot of information here, but in a statement to K2 News, they did just tell us, quote, "It's important to emphasize that a tremendous amount of work is being done in the background to find a resolution to this event. Among those efforts, PPB and PSU administration have made numerous attempts to begin a dialogue with the participants. So far, our efforts have not been successful." As of Wednesday afternoon, protesters were still inside the library at Portland State University. On Monday night, PSU President Ann Cudd requested that Portland police officers remove them.
I implore any students who are involved, who are in the library right now, to please leave the library peacefully and go back home.
Police Union President Aaron Schmaut says officers do not want to enter the library to arrest anyone. He's also asking that the students leave.
And again, that is what they've chosen. That is what they're choosing to do. And they could leave right now and not have any of these things occur.
PPB says the public should know that their presence at PSU will not affect their ability to respond to other emergencies. A spokesperson tells K2 News, quote, "There are some resources dedicated to criminal activity at PSU, but we're not sharing details as it's part of our planning process." On Wednesday afternoon, the university put out an alert on social media saying, quote, "Millar Library is closed. No one is authorized to be in the library. Anyone remaining is committing criminal trespass and must leave immediately." Schmautz fears the students are choosing to remain in order to incite a law enforcement response on purpose. But he says officers will intervene if the students choose not to leave.
This is not something that law enforcement's choosing. This is not something the city is choosing. But we have a moral and a legal responsibility to restore safety to our community.
Again, Portland police are not going to reveal any details of how or when they are going to intervene in this investigation so as not to compromise their strategy. They did tell us, though, that time is a de-escalation tactic they use whenever possible, and sometimes they delay action in order to protect the safety of all involved. We're live in downtown Portland. Emily Gersh, K2 News.
Emily, thank you. Governor Tina Kotek says she agrees with the way President Katu is handling the situation so far. She tells K2 she's in touch with university administrators. Our team coverage continues now with K2's Christina Giardinelli, who's live now in Salem. And Christina, you asked the governor at what point she would intervene. What'd she say?
Yeah, that's right, Steve and Deb. And I asked her, at what point does this become a state problem, particularly because this is a publicly funded university? Have a listen.
If Portland police need backup at the situation at PSU, will you send the state police? And what are you doing to make sure this doesn't turn into another 2020 protest situation?
I do think the situation, as we've talked about earlier on all our campuses, is fluid. We are monitoring that. I know the Portland Police Bureau has a good plan, and the Oregon State Police and we are monitoring, and we'll respond accordingly if additional resources are needed. At this point, I think they have a good plan, and we're just standing by.
Now, lawmakers are also weighing in on this issue, some urging President Katu to take immediate action to remove students from the occupied library building. House Republican leader Jeff Helfrich says delaying the removal process will only enable students to continue their occupation.
I'm not sure why we're negotiating about somebody that's occupying a space that they're not supposed to occupy. I don't understand the negotiation part of that. You have people that are trespassing. If they want to have their freedom of speech and their voices heard, great. Have that outside. Have that in places that it's allowable.
Now, Democrats in both the House and Senate were not available for an interview today. Representative Dacia Graber, a Democrat whose district includes the PSU campus, sent a written statement saying she's working with university administrators and supports negotiations. The written statement reads in part, "More conflict and violence will not solve this problem. We will sit down and seek a resolution." Now, coming up at 6 p.m., I asked Governor Kotek what she would say to families who have students here at PSU campus. For now, live in Salem, Christina Giardinelli, K2 News.
Be back here in an hour, Christina. Thank you. Also, about 100 protesters were arrested overnight at Columbia University in New York after police moved in there. That school has been the epicenter of these protests since mid-April. These are pictures of some of the damage done at one of the buildings on campus. You can also see spots on the lawn where tents were cleared from the outdoor encampment. University has asked police to stay on campus until May 17th.
Well, the White House is pushing back on criticism that President Biden has not been more vocal in response to campus protests. Today, Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre pointed to the president's repeated condemnation of anti-Semitism. She also noted the White House denounced the takeover of a campus building by demonstrators at Columbia University.
We call that out, and we said that is not peacefully protesting. Taking over a building at a university or college is not peacefully protesting. And we've been very clear. Taking more than 100 new actions to deal with anti-Semitism in this administration, no one has ever done that before.
Jean-Pierre emphasized the president respects the right to free expression, but says protests must be peaceful and lawful. She says Biden and his team have been monitoring the protests.